We're going to keep a seat up here for Casey, who just texted me. She just landed at the airport, so she's going to fly right on this panel when she gets here. It's not a joke. All right. Well, I'm super honored to be here with you guys. This is not going to be like any other panel. We're not going to do the boring, usual intros, but I want to ask you all, can you hear me? Is it easy? It's hard, right? It's a little hard to hear, yeah. I'm going to look in your direction. So from any of your work pre-Web3, what was the most influential, valuable experience or skill that you brought into Web3 as you're now in the space? Leighton, maybe starting with you.
Yeah. So I did a lot of work in customer service. And I think that has a lot of relevancy. Obviously, a lot of Web3 is community building, and customer service is a big part of community building. So I think that's probably, from my past work experience, what's been the most influential.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me. Hi. Hello, everyone. I studied information science in college, which was a weird major at Cornell, which was kind of this Venn diagram of like design, computer science, human-computer interaction, statistics. And I was like, what a weird melting pot of things, but Web3 kind of is that melting pot of things, so I got lucky. And I'll pass the mic to Zaki.
Hey, I'm Zaki. I work on a lot of different blockchain protocols. I am mostly known for my work building the Cosmos ecosystem.
Have you heard of it?
Huh?
Have you heard of it?
Unknown if anyone's heard of it. I'm very excited to see the multi-chain world like come together and people bouncing from blockchain to blockchain. It wasn't really clear whether or not that would happen, and it's excited that it's real.
Wait, Zaki, I'm moderating. What in your pre-Web3 world influenced?
So I think the reality is I've been doing Web3 for so long. I don't even remember, like the stuff I did pre-Web3 was all biotech stuff that like I don't even really like. I don't have any context. I've been working on Web3 stuff for 7 years, so I don't even remember what the pre-Web3 world was like.
That's a good answer.
So yeah, for my part, I used to be a quantitative algorithmic trader. So I think like maths and finance were pretty obvious in decentralized finance and today. And I started my career in machine learning. So always been mathematics and physics and coding. So smart contracts and Web3 is kind of obvious for me.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Well, let's start with a softball. What's one of your favorite dApps right now? Doesn't have to be on Cello, but what is sort of thing that you're using right now that you're really excited about in Web3? Maybe you know what? You just started. Now it's Morgan's turn first.
Okay. Well, I had this answer before I knew you would be sitting in the front row, but I do think Impact Market is amazing. So for those of you who don't know, Impact Market, it is a dApp on Cello that's providing UBI for people all over the world. And what gets me really excited about Impact Market is, at least where I live, which is in San Francisco, you see a lot of people who are using crypto because they want it versus because they need it. But the promise of crypto to me has always been the people that need it and the use cases that need it and require it, and it's like a need to have versus a nice to have. And Impact Market is a perfect example of something that could not have happened before because UBI to people all over the world and these micropayments to the old realm just did not make sense. And so they are able to do something that is uniquely enabled by this technology, specifically Cello, and then all that's been happening in the world in the past few weeks, which is horrible. They have been able to make some people's lives a little bit better. So thank you. That's my favorite one.
So I think the thing that is just exciting to me continues to be like all of these bridging apps, whether it's IBC and like using Osmosis or and like the emerging IBC ecosystem to see all of these new things like Layer Zero and other forthcoming apps. I think is probably like what I'm most excited about is just the fact that like money bounce around this multi-chain world.
So the question is what most exciting?
What dApp is
concept from traditional finance into DeFi, but not most of the things that we've seen so far in DeFi are things that already existed in traditional finance for a very long time. So that was not real innovation. And what I'm really looking for is like products that can be accessible by retail, but really complex products. So derivatives, or like pre-advanced like swap, bonds, and all different things. So the connection between the real physical world and DeFi. That's what for me is fascinating.
Yeah, and I think I'm really excited right now about Mirror, the like Web3 blogging platform, as well as Lens protocol, and I think just the general idea of non-financial Web3. Obviously, I work in DeFi. There's tons of stuff that's cool there, but I'm really excited about sort of use cases that are coming out that don't require money.
Why do you think that's happening? Really starting to happen now, really?
I think probably just because speculation's more fun. So I think that's like there's a lot of the infrastructure gets built around that. But now that a lot of people have wallets and they're onboarded, we can start saying, oh, we can own other things than just tokens that represent assets. We can own our data, we can own our blog posts, our social media, etc.
Julian, what you said really resonates with me as well. One of my first jobs was at Morgan Stanley in fixed income capital markets, and I always felt a little bit bad because the products we were structuring were only really accessible to big companies, big customers, right? And if you're a small company that's doing cross-border commerce, like good luck calling your local banker and getting cross-currency swap or even getting fair pricing on that. And so in a big way, I see the liquidity that's been built on chain in DeFi as an enabler also for these more advanced financial products, which actually serve real world use cases, and so I'm with you on that. I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit what I thought I heard you saying. So, and then quick shout out, Zaki. You're later on today at the interoperability panel, so for folks interested in interoperability, don't miss that. And Leighton, I think you're on stage to talk more about Pool Together, which is one of my favorite dApps right now. So yeah, awesome. So next, the next one we're getting a little bit more, get a little bit more in the weeds here, maybe into the conversation. Vitalik recently, and he later clarified that he doesn't necessarily hate Bored Apes Yacht Club, but he did say in the recent interview with Time that, he talked about the peril of $3 million monkeys, and was kind of suggesting that this was a different kind of gambling. And so I want to put it out here to the group, maybe starting with Zaki. What are your thoughts on $3 million monkeys?
So I think two things. One is that DeFi is still really early. And like the sort of the work that we have to do to bring DeFi to the masses is like on multiple different fronts. It's everything from like the primitives to like fees, interop, comprehensibility, safety of all of these pieces. And so it sort of makes sense to me that you see these brands catch on in the popular imagination, that like we built, that like people want, that like the thing that people who are good at like building consumer products build is something that's like much simpler than like the things that I normally build. I also think that like both Vitalik and I are sad about like sort of the, like what comes with when something becomes mainstream is you lose some of the purity of like the scene that we were part of in like 2014, 2015, dreaming about blockchains. Now you have all these people who have very different dreams and are much more, I guess, mainstream than we are, who are joining the space, and and their like on ramp is the Bored Apes Yacht Club and stuff like that.
Anybody want to add? Who wants to take the other side of Zaki's argument? Morgan?
I don't know if it's another side, but it's a different side. I've spoken to Vitalik more broadly about this being luxury brands and status symbols. So Gucci, Prada, what do those brands signal? I'm oversimplifying and I'm going to offend some people, but here we are. And those brands really signal that you have money. They don't signal necessarily that you're smart. They don't signal necessarily that you're a good person, that you've donated to a cause. And we both have like a slight aversion to brands where like the only signal is that you have money. And I don't want to put words in his mouth because I haven't spoken to him specifically about Bored Apes, but I think a $3 million monkey, it is a status symbol, but it signals that you have money. And he and I have talked about like other brands where you can potentially like get an item from that brand for doing things other than just having money. So whether it's like you climbed Mount Everest so you get to get this cool thing, or you donate to a certain charity so you get to get this cool thing, and just more broadly this concept of brands that are signals of other attributes, for which he actually wrote a blog post about this a few weeks ago called, oh my gosh, it's gonna come to me. It will come back to me. Soulbound. Soulbound. He wrote a blog post about this called Soulbound. Where Bored Apes can be more than just that is that there are all these attributes that will come with Bored Apes in theory and some partially in reality that are beyond just like the profile picture. So community and all the other promises that have been made, for which I'm not saying that I don't believe that they'll achieve them. I think that they will. So I think that currently today, when you buy a $3 million monkey, you're mostly getting a status symbol, but you're also buying into a community that has like, promised a roadmap of a lot more. And that's where, just broadly, I think NFTs, it needs to be art slash a PFP plus more, with more again being a community, more being invitations to events, more being X, Y, and Z. And we'll see what actually ends up happening. But the aversion to status symbols that only signal money, I am with him on that.
I want to come back to you and ask you about stoner cats, but Julian,
Yeah, fine.
do you have a Bored Ape?
Yeah. I got a few actually. But I mean, it's part of my speculation in like my portfolio. But I think like I completely agree with Zaki what he said. Like part of the innovation phase, I do believe, and we've seen it before in society, like the emergence of internet, for example. 99% of all the things that were built during the phase of internet boom, where kind of the same that is happening in the fact now. Like they all disappeared, but they actually create some really huge unicorns. And in the blockchain world, we've seen exactly the same things. Like first we had the ICO boom, a piece of landing pages that people raised a lot of money, a huge amount of money for having zero product, just an idea, and most of the time they were just built to make money. And that's the reason why in the ICO phase, if we count the number of projects that actually created a product, it's very small. It's probably less than a percent. And then we had the NFT, ICO boom, the DeFi craziness, and now we're seeing the NFT boom. But what's now it's happening is like it's really difficult, or it's becoming more difficult to raise money just by creating NFTs, landing page. So what shows is that the market is maturing, is growing up, like it's in utility. So now like Bored Apes or other NFT projects, they really focus on creating utility around the NFTs. Otherwise, people don't want to buy them anymore. So we've seen that on OpenSea, the price floor, and all different things. Now it's more complicated to raise money using just a simple project with NFTs. It means that now people are more focused on creating utility around those NFTs, or like Bored Apes or whatever. And now I do believe like in 2022, we'll see the connection between traditional finance using NFTs, for example, debts, bonds, treasury management, and all different things. So true utility bringing, like getting on the NFT concepts, so then all the crazy, simple ideas about NFT will disappear, like instantly.
Yeah. Leighton, anything you want to add?
Well, I had a Bored Ape and I sold it for 2 ETH, so I'm contractually obligated to always hate them. So, no, I mean, I don't think it's great PR, right? Like the fact that it offends people, and I think should offend people who don't understand the broader context it fits within. Like it sort of offends your sensibilities to be like, why would someone spend this much money for this?
Yeah.
And so I would rather see I would rather that not be a leading narrative. I'll say that.
That's fair. Look, I mean, it's I think I kind of agree with what you guys are saying, and like to me, it's one thing that it's done also, it's created awareness for a technical standard, right? And like, I mean, even like there are builders in the room that are actually creating land NFTs, right, to bring like land on chain. So I think in many ways, like these sort of toys or these sort of early implementation of this kind of standard can actually lead to actually much richer and more meaningful experiences. So maybe shifting gears a little bit, we have like 2 days with builders, people that are out there building towards the vision for Cello. And you guys know Cello, but you also see the broader Web3 ecosystem. And I'd love to just get some honest feedback on, hey, what can this community do better? Like, where do we fall short? What is missing? Give us some of your insights. We're all among friends here. Who wants to take that one first? Leighton. Yeah.
The question is insights on Cello specifically, or?
Yeah, for people that are building in the ecosystem.
Well, I do think if I was building right now on Cello, one trend that I'm seeing in the broader Web3 that I don't think has seen so much in Cello specifically is sort of this idea of collaborative ownership and collaborative consumption or investing. And so it's coming out mostly with NFTs right now, where people are forming groups to buy NFTs together. And I think that's going to be really big. And I think it actually could fit really well with Cello's ethos of like, good ghosting sort of touches on it with its like savings pools that are sort of unique to a specific demographic. Pool Together sort of touches on it, but I don't see anyone in Cello right now, in the Cello ecosystem, tackling like tools to help people collaboratively own something, collaboratively invest in something. And I think that's just a super important financial primitive. And so that's not a critique. That's more just like hey, if I was a builder looking at things to build in the Cello ecosystem, I would look in that direction. So I'll let others speak to maybe critiques.
That's awesome.
Well, what gets me excited about Cello is what I mentioned about impact market, where I don't think you had a chart on this, and I'm not sure how you can have a chart on this, but just generally like percentage of users who need it versus want it seems higher. And I'm making this up, but I think it's true. I don't know how you can you confirm that? Can someone confirm this? So just generally, like that's cool that you like have people who use Cello who need it. Hey, what's up? And then, I mean, it's not a coincidence that Zucky and I are on the same page, so stay tuned to find out more. But we are big believers in the interchain, multi-chain, cross-chain, X-chain, I'm sure there will be a new phrase, world. And I think that's a big opportunity for Cello as well, because there's like 2 ways to grow TVO. Like you get more people on Cello, or you can bring assets from other chains. So, I mean, one example is like Bitcoin, like the one and only. You can't really do anything with it, but you can do like in this cross-chain, interchain, multi-chain, X-chain, world. Imagine what you could do. You bring Bitcoin over to Cello, you could do all this cool stuff. So, more broadly, I think that the future is multi-chain. And I think that the average person isn't going to have to understand 12 different ecosystems. They're going to understand just Web3. And I would be paying attention to that.
So I guess what makes me excited about Cello is that I feel that this year is going to be see a shift towards sort of the application-specific blockchain hypothesis may like finally take off. And I view, while Cello isn't exactly an application-specific blockchain, it is very dedicated towards like sort of a very distinct community from like the generic, like we have built the Ethereum DeFi platform on yet another chain. That never really happened on Cello, and to some people may feel like a missed opportunity. But like that narrative has run out of steam. And so now you're starting to see, even when you have a general purpose smart contract platform, an increasing amount of focus on a distinct community of users that you serve. And I think Cello really has that identity. And that I think going to be harder for chains that have kind of gone after the same sort of degen community as everyone else to try and now have to craft their own sort of unique user identity. So it's stuck to its mission.
Yeah, I agree with Zaki. Like we've seen this morning, like most of the talk on the stage were about impact, solving real problems, and you don't really see those kind of discussions on the conference or the blockchain. So I think the crowd in Seattle is really about like solving real problems, helping people in the world. And I mean, if you go to the website, you see like mobile application first. Like how can we bring blockchain or the products that blockchain is allowing to build to the people in real life. So it's not like I think the DJing narrative is not in sale, and I think that's really good because it will really shift towards utility first, and sale is actually first building for utility for the people. So I think it's a great opportunity for Silo, and also like it's really it's a good there's like a good vibe, I would say. Like, really builders building to help people, and I think it's very important.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. So maybe to end this panel, one last question, and this is a bit of, for me too, self-help, but also for this room. You guys have been in this space for a long time. This is 24/7, always on, building. We're like involved in all these different things. Like, how do you guys stay sane? What are some like hacks? What are some secrets that you can share with us on how you do it?
So what was the question?
How do you stay sane? What are life hacks?
Am I sane?
Do I exist?
Definitely not sane.
You should start with a good therapist. I don't know. I mean, one thing I'll say is like you just be okay with just missing out on a ton of things, and like there's so many things where it's like, oh, if I had held that, or if I had bought into that, or if I had done that, I would have so much money right now, and I'd be so happy. But that's just the nature of the space, and that's like come to. Hopefully, you can just have fun with that instead of that being something that sort of hangs over your head, or you're sort of like, oh, I'm an idiot, I didn't do this thing, or I need to chase this thing, and you start sort of chasing, trying to get to these things, which usually leads to bad outcomes. So, yeah, one tip I would have from being in the space for a while is just realize you're going to miss a ton of opportunities. Don't let that bother you. Don't feel like you're too late. Instead, just seek out things that are genuinely interesting to you, and and don't sweat the hiccups along the way.
That's good advice.
Mine's not as sage, but Renee, Zucky, Nam, Maria, like, I've been victim to this. I walk a lot, and I think walking keeps me sane. Like I'll walk hours a day, and that's one. And then the other part, I guess, too, you're gonna miss out on things. A few months ago, I realized your job's a little different, but for my job, like if I don't look at my phone for 20 hours, like no one dies. And that's okay. So from like Friday night through Saturday, which you all have also been a victim to this, and I apologize, but I'm actually not really sorry. I like don't answer work stuff. And at first it felt irresponsible, but then I'm like, I'm actually way more on if I just like take a break for 12 hours or 18 hours. So, and life continues. So that's something else I've started doing.
I think because the blockchains, like we're very good at building feedback loops, and you have to be very deliberate about like what feedback loops you want to be part of. If you find yourselves too much in sort of the get rich quick feedback loop, or you can very easily sort of like really so like I definitely try to prefer like get rich slowly feedback loops that like keep me sane.
That's good.
So yeah, for myself, I've been in space for very long time. I celebrate my 10 years anniversary last year. I went to Mt. Gox story, the DAO, And then I saw the nascence of, for example, Cosmos. Remember, like Game of Stake? So I know Zaki from the early days of Cosmos. Like, I almost died in the Game of Stake with Cosmos. Like, he's now like people are like, "Hey, do you know Cosmos?" I'm like, "Dude, like, I was there in the early days." And I saw the like paradigm getting built. I saw the first pull request from Pull Together in Denver. So I've been there for a very long time. And, yeah, I would lie if I said that sometimes it's not difficult. And I think it's difficult because if you pay too much attention from the naysayers, people that are telling you this is not possible, or people that their job is to flood. And I think Twitter and Telegram, they're really toxic places if you really pay too much attention. But then if you extract and if you disassociate yourself from people trying to tell you what to do, that's how you can remain sane. And if you have a purpose in life to either give back or build for others, I have a motto on my Twitter to say like the more you share, the more you get. And this is something that I've been trying to do for the past like almost like 15 years, 10 years. And that's how I try to stay like sane. And I think those conferences are good, but also like they can be like really tough because it's a lot of parties. And yeah, like then you try to give yourself some relaxation, and then that's how you survive.
Beautiful. Thanks, Julian. You know, you mentioned purpose. As all of you know here, Cello means purpose in Esperanto. So that was a beautiful closing remark. Thank you all for being on this panel with me and for the conversation. And friends, it's time for lunch. Thanks.
Thank you.